Hey everyone, today we're going to cover issue number 2 of The Children of the Vault, which was written by Denise Camp. But before we dive into the story, I want to ask you a favor. If you enjoy this video, please leave a like and a comment to help the channel grow. So with that said, this issue opens up with Martilo outside the drum and bass nightclub parking lot in Argentina. And while he is there, we get a dialogue from a narrator explaining how Martilo likes to peer through the walls to see the dancers inside. Now, this isn't the first time he has done this, for he comes here every night to watch them while he still can. So the reason why he does this is because music isn't allowed in the city with the exception of the military march. Because displays such as this are considered primitive and shameful, for the Children of the Vault doesn't dance. Of course, they have other more productive pleasures, but none of them makes him feel what he feels right now. So he commits every step, every significant look, and every stolen kiss to his memory. For soon, memories will be all that is left of dancing. But if he was honest with himself, just once, he'd really like to lay his hammer down and join them. But there's always something else that needs hitting. So with that said, out of nowhere, both Cable and Bishop ambushed Martilo with guns blazing. Which was a surprise for the Child of Tomorrow, because for some reason, he was under the impression that all the mutants were dead following the gala. So with Bishop being smashed into a parked car, Cable took the next man up mentality and engaged the enemy. So with Martilo distracted by Cable, Bishop was able to recover and blast him directly in the back. So with no time to waste, Bishop held down the target as Cable finished him off by knocking him out with a face shot. So with Martilo out cold, Cable proceeded to body slide the three to a safe location. So with the grab and dash being successful, we transition over to the current state of the world. And high above the clouds in their sentinel cities, the Children of Tomorrow look down on a world more familiar by the day. For these Tomorrow Towns provided self-replicating solutions to all life's problems across every continent, making good of men and at last, bringing the future to those left behind by it. And where bigger problems present themselves, the children get involved directly. Like when Port-au-Prince was invaded by an army of undead Avengers from Earth 2149, the children were there staring into the unhinged jaws of a corrupted Captain America. The people pray to God for salvation, but it's Atomo who answers. For all over the city, the living and the dead feel electron shifts in their orbits, molecules split apart and recombine as material reality itself is reshaped by Atomo's will. Now, Atomo rejects the separation between states. Stones become steam, matter becomes energy, fear becomes joy, and death becomes life. And when a radical Shi'ar faction bent on destroying planet Earth attacks Nairobi with a battalion of brainwashed super guardians, the children take up the defense. Until today, Elijah didn't have an opinion on the Children of Tomorrow. For he had more important things to think about, like providing for his wife and 2 daughters. But today, if not for the children, he would have lost his family to incomprehensible alien politics if it wasn't for the Children of Tomorrow. But see, that was just the start of their actions, for the children are everywhere, filling an attack by negative zone anti-zealots in Cape Verde, repelling an attempted incursion into Euclidean space by Shumagorath in Mogadishu, subduing a fallen former herald of Galactus, setting himself up as a new god in New Guinea. So with each major victory, the message spreads and grows in the hearts and minds of the people. So with that said, we skip over to the inside of Martilo's mind, for Cable is searching for any bit of information that could help his cause. So as he sat across from him, he let him know that he was there when they first crawled out of their hiding hole. And yeah, he noticed they got themselves some new clothes and new names, but see, Cable is also aware that despite them changing their appearances, they are still the same people dead set on conquering the world. So with that said, Martilo responded by saying, he cannot be judged for that, for it was 1,000,000 years and 1,000 lifetimes ago. In which Cable replies by saying, not to us. So with the introductions out of the way, Cable then goes on to ask him about the message, for he already knows it's some kind of semiotics virus. But what he doesn't know is what exactly it does. In which Martilo tells him it's better not to question the message and better just to accept it. Now while this exchange is going down, Cable is hard at work breaking down Martilo's mental defenses while trying to understand their overall plan. Because Cable then tells him that he understands that they are trying to pacify everyone, but once they are done doing what they are doing, then what's next on their agenda? So as the two continue their mental battle within Martilo's mind, Martilo tells Cable that he empathized with him and in a sense they are on the same side and wanted the same things. because he knows that Cable wanted to build a future for himself, but it was taken. But one thing Cable failed to realize was the future from Martilo's perspective was never theirs. Martilo then goes on to say 50 of the children could eliminate the human race in a single day. Now many of his people wanted to do it and be done with it. But some of them believe they have evolved past all that. For the message is the better way. So while all of that is going down, we transfer to Bishop making his way to the mansion kind of like Kate in the previous issues. Now just like her, his goal is to collect something hidden there in case of an emergency. Now, for Bishop, the mansion is both home and hallowed ground. As a boy in the camp, it represented the dream of a better world, and as a man out of time, it was the place you fought for that dream, so it's painful for him to see the place like this. Understanding the cultural significance of Xavier School, Orcus had chosen to occupy it, in hopes of sweeping up any mutants struggling in search of sanctuary. Now the reason why Bishop is here is because Cable hid a massive weapons cache below the old basketball field. Which means Bishop will have to avoid the guards and dozens of overlapping surveillance systems to reach it. Now, these high-tech systems all fundamentally work the same way. They send out energy fields sensitive to movement or mass and interrupt disruptions in those fields. So all Bishop has to do is absorb those energy fields. Now the trick is where skill and experience come into play, because he has to know which wavelengths to absorb and which to reflect. Because if he absorbs too much light, then he will become a walking black hole, which is sure to be noticed, and if he absorbs too little, then he'll be as obvious as if you walked in through the front door. So with that said, Bishop feels the fields gently scraping his skin as he walks through the grounds. So as he navigates his way to his target, he has to mentally calculate thousands of fractured angles, and while he's doing that, he has to make sure he reflects, absorbs, metabolizes, and radiates a riot of invisible light all at the same time. It is a dance that only Bishop can appreciate, because at various points, billion-dollar instruments mistaken him for a shrub, squirrel, a chair, and an internal error. So with that said, Bishop has found what he needed. So with that done, we skip over to the United Nations, and when we get there, we see that the government of the world has accepted the children of tomorrow and sanctioned them to act as they see fit. So with diplomatic immunity, they are able to continue to spread their message to all corners of the world. And as for their base of operations, it is officially recognized as a sovereign entity. So with the world singing their praises, we skip over to Serafina and the captain. And the captain states that the world is so much smaller than he thought it would be and is confused on how they could have been born from them. For he believes that the world is a soup of weakness, ignorance, and people in need. In which Serafina completely disagrees with him, for she sees them as precious little things, kind of like an ancient vase, useless, beautiful, and broken. Now just to add some context to the story, Serafina and Captain have debated for a very long time, so much so that it has continued over generations across cycles of death, evolution, and rebirth. Now both of them represent opposing evolutionary ideologies. So when it came to the message with all its implications, that was from Serafina's camp. For her party argued for the children to come to humanity as heroes, which represents the new way. And as for Captain, he is more of a traditionalist, who would prefer to grind humanity beneath his heel, eradicate every trace of them, and start the world anew if he had his way. So with that said, in the center of their city, both of them would debate each other while surrounded by their fellow citizen. It was basically ideological combat, and in the end, Serafina's ideological stance was successful. So with her victory, she became the voice of the city, and with that title, she was now given the advantage. Now when it comes to the children, they indeed created the city, but at the same time, the city also created the children. So to the children, the city serves as their mother, god, servant, and slave. So as all that plays out, an alarm goes off with an incoming omnipathic communication, speaking of pain, distress, imprisonment, and torture. And almost instantly, Serafina was positive the person in need was Martilo. But see, knowing he is in trouble is different from knowing who had him. Because very few people could hold one of them against their will. So with them retracing his thoughts, it was only a matter of minutes before his location was known. So as they wait for the location to come in, Captain is super excited that he may have a chance to kill one of the superheroes. So with that said, he then goes on to tell Serafina that she can't help these people if they don't want to be elevated. So with the children of tomorrow en route, we switch back over to Cable's interrogation of Martilo. And when we get there, Martilo tells Cable that the message is not a virus, it is only an idea, one so clear and so self-evidently true that it transformed first their mind and then their body. Now those who survive will think and feel and fly as we do. And they will become true children at the genetic level. Now the rest who can't change or won't, there will be no place for them in the new world. So with that shocking news, Cable asks how many people are projected to make it into the future. In which Martilo responded by saying less than 1% of humanity will survive the change. So with the children's plan to completely wipe out the human race out in the open, Martilo continues to tell Cable that the mutant projected the human race would be gone in 20 years, but we know that they will be gone in 6 months. And there was nothing anyone could do to stop it, for they had prepared since they escaped the mutants' dream prison 200 years ago. For within those 200 years, they sharpened their knives and raised their hammers because there was no way to stop them because they are the future. So with that said, Cable responds by saying he is from the future and he never saw you anywhere in it. And just like that, Cable finished his psychic assault just as reinforcements arrived. So as Martilo says things are over for him, Cable replies by saying, "Finished, you didn't think I'd actually be there in person, did you? I could catch something." So with that remark, Cable then goes on to tell him to check under his seat before the hologram fades into nothingness. And that is when we discover Martilo was sitting upon a bomb. And just like that, a massive explosion went off, destroying everything in the surrounding area and mostly anyone who made it too close to the safe house. So with Cable outmaneuvering the children of tomorrow, we pick up with him and Bishop loaded to the teeth with weapons ready to put in work. For their next stop is the city itself. So with that said, issue number 2 of the Children of the Vault comes to an end. Now let me just say I love the premise behind this story and really looking forward to how things will play out. Now I also have to say it was a missed opportunity to not make this a big Judgment Day style event, given how world-changing the children are. Because if Marvel was honest with themselves, they would address what the children were doing across several different publications. But other than that, I love how Cable and Bishop are getting their chances to shine. So down in the comment section below, let me know your thoughts about this issue and what predictions you could have moving forward. So with that established, I hope you enjoyed this video and please don't forget to leave a like and a comment if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next review.